There we go. All right. We are officially live. We're going to wait a few seconds here to get everybody on. But here in West Palm Beach with two of my greatest heroes of all time, the incredible Larry Weidel and the one and only, the Godfather himself, Art Williams. And we've been watching and waiting for this moment for a really, really long time. And for me, this is just an honor of my life to be here with you two.
Thank you.
11 years ago when I was a pastor and struggling and pulling $3 for $5 bags of ravioli out of the freezer at Myers because I couldn't afford the $3 for $7 bags of ravioli, I wanted nothing more than to change my life in a big way, and I just didn't know where, I didn't know how. And Primerica came into my life, and one man's dream 35 years later was still changing the world and changed our world unbelievably. And man, it is an honor and a privilege to be with you all here, and we're going to let it rip. And so we just want to welcome everybody to the broadcast today. Make sure you're adding your friends on so they can see it. And right at the top of your screen, you can see a web link there to artwilliamsbest.com. And if you haven't gone on, make sure you go on and you register on that site. Put in your email, sign up, get connected on Art's YouTube page, because this really all started, Art, by you wanting to not necessarily retell, but to tell in a different medium, to tell in a different way. One of the greatest stories in American business history, the A.L. Williams story, the Primerica story, and you started creating a labor of love, creating these new rap graphic videos that tell the story to a new generation of people. And you started this, and it's just really starting to blow up. I've had an opportunity to watch so many of these videos, and I mean the original talks, the original things, I've watched these things so many times, and it never ceases to change my life and to change our new people's lives. But what you have done with these new graphics and shortening the videos and taking those power pieces, I mean, it's unbelievable, right? 3 to 5 minutes of power, and it's like nothing I've ever seen. And so, Art, why don't you talk a little bit about why you started that and what you think that's going to do out there to the people watching, their lives, their teams, their businesses.
Well, thank you, Ian. And I talked to Bill Arenda a couple of days ago, and he said, Ian, that you and Jessica are the real thing, that y'all would have fit so great, with those original people. And you're the right kind of people, and you got the right kind of heart. And so I've looked forward to meeting you too. And thank you for hosting this thing. And this got started. I still don't have a cell phone. I still don't use a computer. About 2 years ago, Angela let me use her iPad, and she showed me how to, gave me an email address, and showed me how to use it. And so I started watching, golf video, to try to improve my golf game, which is no better than it was. I'd order things off Amazon, And then I started looking at some of the old A.L. Williams stuff and some of the Primerica stuff and some of the financial services stuff out there. And I just got so frustrated because I tried to tell the A.L. Williams story. It was such a good story, and I was just incapable of telling it in a book form, and then I looked at all these old videos I did, and they were all old and boring, and I was so frustrated, and I said, there's got to be a better way to tell the story. So I went to this friend of mine, Matt Gore, that started at A.L. Williams TV, and he founded Larry, his own company, and he does all kind of infomercials and commercials with CNN and Fox News and all this kind of stuff. But he loves A.L. Williams. And so I went to see Matt one day, and I said, Matt, I look at the old crap on TV, old A.L. Williams and all this other stuff, and I'm so frustrated because it just, it doesn't tell it like it was back in 1977 and 1979 and 1984 when we kicked Prudential's butt, and became #1. And I said, I wonder if we could take some of this old stuff and we could, put it in 2018 time frame, put some music and graphics behind it, have some short, energetic, hard-hitting stuff. Like, today, I might say some things that shock you because you've told me this is private. this is like
That's right. What we told you guys. This is art uncensored, right?
Yeah, right, okay.
Okay. You had to ask to be in this group.
Yeah.
Okay. You had to ask.
So this is my locker room. I'm talking to my A.O. Williams friends, and so I'm gonna probably shock some of you, and so anyway, that's how I got started, and I wanted to do this really for my grandbabies, and just as a legacy kind of thing, how they would know, what Mama Two and I did, and what an awesome thing A.O. Williams was, and Nat's Mushroom, and Larry tells me that it's going all over the place and that they got thousands of people out there that are watching, and it's really helping them understand the foundation behind what is now Primerica. I'm proud of Primerica, by the way. I'm going to say some probably ugly things today about Primerica because I think y'all got a lot of growing to do. And but I love Primerica, and I'm so thankful that y'all are taking what we started, and you're continuing this crusade on and making a difference out there. So Ian, that's where we got started, and so here we are.
And Art, I think I want to tell you, and I don't think for a second that I speak for everybody in Primerica, because I don't, but I think that I want to tell you that we're ready. I think that this generation of leaders has your heart and has your heartbeat, and the crusade is strong in them, and that we're ready to do something big. I was telling you before that in the 11 years I've been here, I've never seen our company really hungry to do something special, to do something big, to build big base shops and promote massive amounts of RVPs, and to explode the size of this company and to double in 24 months, to triple in 36 months, thinking that in the 11 years I've been here, it hasn't been present. And so as many of my peers and friends on here that would let me speak for them, let us have it. Tell us how it is, because we're ready.
I'm glad you say that, because it's sort of pitiful, the way y'all have grown, compared to A.O. Williams. And so let me just give you what my impression is, Ian, of where y'all are and where we were. Again, I'm going to tell you how A.O. Williams thought, how we trained, how we built, our army of people out there. And so we'll see how it goes. But, as I look at what I see on the internet right now, I think everything that y'all are basically doing right now is sort of ass backwards. Now, that's an old South Georgia phrase, when I say ass backwards, that means that, if you're facing this way, your butt's turned the wrong way, And I think your butt sort of turned the wrong way, and y'all got everything sort of screwed up. And this is what I mean. At A.O. Williams, we had a rule that we were not going to recruit life insurance agents, and we were not going to recruit professional salespeople. We were coaches, we were policemen, we were firemen. And, we thought that the life insurance agents were low-life, scum-sucking dogs, people that couldn't do anything else for a living. And that's not what we wanted to do. That's not what Larry Weidel never saw himself when he graduated engineering at Georgia Tech. When I was a football coach, my passion was coaching. That's all I ever wanted to do with my life. And to think of me being an insurance agent, that was just so nauseating for me. It's unbelievable. And yet, as I look at what's going on right now on the internet, I see y'all training like you're training an insurance agent, like you're training somebody to sales, like you're selling on the first interview. You're teaching people how to close a sale. You're teaching people how to get a commitment. You're teaching people how to overcome objections. You're sending people to Tom Hopkins and sales trainers, and teaching all these kind of sales techniques and all this kind of stuff. That was not A.O. Williams. We didn't want to be an insurance agent, We didn't recruit people that wanted to be insurance agents. We were coaches. And when you're a coach, what you do is you look at the game films, let's say, of next week's opponent, and you're trying to find their weakness. And what you want to be is mentally tougher and physically tougher. Football players, you got them out there practicing until you get it perfect. In the off season, they're in the weight room. They're on the track trying to get stronger and faster. What we found is we looked at the game films of what was happening in financial services back in 1977 was the cash value was the biggest ripoff that's ever been sold to the American consumer. They were selling a savings program you lose if you die, for heaven's sakes. The first year you made 0% interest. They charge you 7% interest to use your own money. Banks were out there charging you 17 to 27% to use a credit card, and they're paying you 1% on a CD. It was just such an unbelievable ripoff. And for that $100 licensing fee, I could become like save people money on life insurance. I could kick the banks in the butt, you know, and it was just awesome. The financial problems they had back then still have today. You know, still have today.
It's worse today.
And how we could solve those kinds of problems. It was just unbelievable. And so my thing was like looking at it as a coach. I wanted to focus on the real things. And the real things were getting my players ready to play mentally and physically. And so we were friends talking to friends, Ian. And when you go into a friend's house, you don't pressure them. I mean, we used to say, Larry, you know, AOE we don't believe in pressure. We don't believe in talking to strangers. You know, and when you're going in a home and you're talking to a friend, you don't bring up how to overcome objections. And you don't. I mean, if I walked into my friend's house, like Robert Kelly, my first day on my assistant coach, and I was dressed up in a suit, I never wore a suit. I only had one suit. And if I wore a suit, that guy was like, oh, he's come to screw me, you know. And if I started talking like I knew everything in the world, you know, and I was a professional salesperson and all this kind of crap, you know, he would know I was a phony. And so what I wanted to be was a friend. I wasn't interested in learning how to close a sale. Hey, Ian, let me tell you this, old buddy. If you wanted to quadruple your production, your number of RVPs in production, I did the most amazing thing. I'm in a video right now that'll take me a few weeks to produce, but it's on building trusting relationships. And Larry Weidel was great. I was pretty good. But Mike Tuttle was the best. He was a superstar. You know, he came from Campus Crusade,
yep,
just like you did from the ministry. And he had the right kind of heart. When Mike went to Texas, we weren't even in Texas. We didn't have an office. We didn't have a business card. We didn't have a brochure. We didn't have nothing. And he started out as a division. I started out as a division manager because he was way out there by himself and we didn't have anybody there. He made something like $160,000 his first year. And then he was promoted to RVP and he made like $460,000. And then today Mike Tuttle has 17 $17 million earners. And Mike never made a sale on the first interview. In fact, he would go in, wouldn't to take a briefcase or anything with him. He'd just go in and visit. Like I did the same thing. I'd go in and we'd go to the den and with his best friend usually with me. My first 2.5 years, you know, I was part-time. And I never made a sale during football season. Never made a sale on the first interview. But I made enough sales to where I saved $42,000. It changed my life. Now, if you converted that because of inflation, Larry, in today's dollars, that's $178,000. Can you imagine a part-time job giving you? I used to run up and down the basketball court after football season for 3 hours and make $12. And all of a sudden, I've saved $178,000 part-time, for heaven's sakes. That's just unbelievable. And so, Mike Tuttle, I got into this thing, and if you hadn't seen, this is better than any of my videos, okay? Because he was the best. Go get Mike Tuttle's video on Primerica TV and just watch the first 30 minutes of it. That's all I got to, you know. And he said, doesn't sell on the first interview, doesn't even take anything in there with it. He wants people to be totally relaxed, you know. And he's talking to him as a friend, just talking to him as a friend, getting to know him and let this guy get to know how Mike got into buy term and invest the difference, you know. And I always told my personal story, you know. And the guy just understanding who you are and that you are not a life insurance agent, that you hate those jokers, you know. And you're there. If you can, I used to make 2 promises, Ian, when I went into a house. I said, I promise you, you give me your financial information, and I'm going to go back and do some work and come back with a proposal. And if I can't give you for the same money 8 to 10 times more value, or you take the same value now and cut your cost 70, 80%, I don't deserve your business. We're not talking about little money. We're talking about tens of thousands and maybe even more than that dollars, you know. And so Weidel would go in there just building a relationship, you know. And then he would leave and he would come back with his proposal and he would encourage people not to buy. He said, look, this is such an important decision. I don't even want you to buy now. I mean, think about it, okay? And can you imagine? And he said about 80 or 90% of the time, the people said, look, Mike, you don't have to come back again. You know, I want it. I trust you, you know, and this is better for me and my family, you know. He never lost a sale, which sort of blows me away, you know. So if you want to quadruple your business, not just double it, you know, go get that video and go look at how friends talking to friends and no pressure and not selling on the first interview and just building trusting relationships. I mean,
well, another thing about that, Art, is people that go to your YouTube video on the warm versus cold market. You just cover that.
Yeah.
We can get into that a little bit more. That is a jewel. You just put that thing out, and people can look forward to a whole lot more of those really concise type things. But let me say something, okay? Because I've heard this rodeo a million times, Angela. Angela's sitting on the other side right over there listening, so supervising us. But and Jessica supervising us.
The bosses, right?
So we're all trying to behave here on the screen.
yeah, right.
But the thing is, I'm sick and tired of no growth. I'm just sick and tired of mediocrity. And what we're talking about here is folks, I mean, when Art says talking about, I'm going to say some things you don't like, I mean, people are going to get their little feelings hurt about, oh, you know, selling on the first thing, you know, and we, or taking our people to some professional trainer, you know, who gives him the right, you know. But the thing is, your crap ain't working. You know, the thing is, your crap is not working. I mean, you got people underperforming across the board. How many times have we taken people, I mean, we have people hauling people 20 across the country. They could haul 100 people, $2,500 across the country to go some Tony Robbins or some this, that, the other, and come out and don't do a darn thing different. So the thing is, evaluate what we did when Art was talking. He didn't just prepare his football team to go play. He prepared them to win. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Prepared to darn win. And so what I challenge you guys is out there, how come you're not winning more? If your stuff is so great, if your systems are so great, maybe you're missing the relationship. Maybe you know how to run in and run out real efficient. Maybe run in and run out and get that sale first time. But maybe the crap falls out before you even get back to your car. Maybe before you get to your car, you know, Bob Turley did that once. You know, at one of the training, you know, he took me about 17 times. There was this one guy, he was young little guy. He was so smooth with Art. I mean, with Turley. He just said yes to everything. Yeah. You know, Turley thought he was $1 million salesman, man. Yeah. And this kid just worked him like a champ. And I thought, man, Art. I mean, Bob's just incredible. You know, and the kid just agreed with everything, this, that, and the other, because he knew he was going to drop it the next day. You know, he wrote a check out for Bob and this, that, and the other. But, you know, you guys are running around picking up stuff that falls out of your basket before you even get back to the office. You wonder why you have crappy persistency. And you wonder why you recruit people and the suckers don't do nothing. It's because there's no relationship. And you just picked them off it's just like picking up day laborers in a truck going down the street, giving them a free Coke, and they'll jump in the wagon. Hey, unbelievable. But then they jump out of the wagon when you hit a stop sign. That's what a lot of your recruiting is. There's just no retention because there's no relationship. So I would encourage you to open your mind and listen, because your growth ain't for crap compared to what your potential is. And do you really want to go through your life spending all of your time and energy and getting a 10-15% return on your effort, where if you go in there and don't approach it like this cold-hearted sales machine textbook professor type thing, and produce a lot of professors, and you produce some real people that care about people and building a business, a block of business where it lasts. I mean, Art, here we are talking about this stuff. You talk about stuff that lasts. How many techniques has all of these other trainers gone through over the last 40 years? But here, we're still talking about this. 40 years. You know, it's unbelievable. So what lasts, folks? What are you building and putting your time and teaching your people stuff that's going to last, or stuff that they're just going to be learning a whole new way of doing it next year? You know what I'm saying? Is that clicking with you?
It does,
Ian?
you know.
Because, I mean, Art and I look at your business, we say, Ian could be 10 times bigger. Ian could be 10 times bigger, and the company needs Ian to be 10 times bigger. Ian's people need to be 10 times bigger. The country needs Ian to be 10 times bigger. I mean, because you got a heart for people. You know, you're going to treat them the right kind of way. We need you to get bigger, not somebody who's just out there, you know, dragging people through these professional training courses. You know, we need to build relationships and values. But how is this clicking with you? I mean, you seeing something different? Is, you know, a different approach here, Ian?
You know, I was blessed to be able to meet you guys the first time at the next generation of Giants in 2013, and I sat in the back and watched and observed, and you could just notice that there's stuff that gets lost in translation as time goes on, as cultures change, but that are true and right and will be right 100 years from now and 1,000 years from now if we're still walking around this planet, right? And Bill Arender had invited Jessica and I to come out and see in Dallas, and we took some of our people. And the thing that shook her and I the most, that really was a conviction almost, right? We came out of the ministry, we loved people, right? The people have always been a difficult thing at the same time when you come out of a place like the ministry. And to see Mike Tuttle and you and the love you guys had for each other and for your people, it was really convicting. And I think that everybody out watching this right now, the glue that's missing for so much of the activity to build upon is that relational bond. It's slowing down in this technological age and actually caring about people. It's something that I've sat down and had to work on diligently, and still I'm not great at it.
And let me just talk about the glue for a minute, Art. I mean, you made a lot of decisions. You know, you had to, trying to figure it out, because we were trying to figure it out. And you're going to make a lot of decisions about your business, trying to figure it out. And a lot of them we wanted to strangle you for. You know what I'm saying? Because you would make decisions for the company as a whole. And like, I'd go into a meeting and Art just decided, I'll never forget Amelia Island. He just decided that little decision he made on something cost me $50,000 a month. You know, go. But the thing is that, you know, we had enough of a relationship, and we had, like you said, the glue, to where when you go into things like that, it's like you give people the benefit of the doubt and you don't cave apart. So because what if we didn't have that relationship in Amelia Island, which is 1,000,000 years ago, and Larry got his little feelings hurt, and I'm going to go out there and start my little old company, and I'm going to go out there and find some other rebels, and we're going to I'd probably be driving a bus somewhere right now, you know?
You see? That's so important, Larry, that you say that, because the thing that see, I've never been to a sales training meeting, never. Yeah. I've never had anybody tell me how to make a presentation to make a sale. We figured all this out. Because it was just common sense, you know, and we all played on teams, or we were coaches. I mean, originally, you know, the original 85 people, because of my background, I recruited my friends, you know, and they were mostly coaches. We knew how to build a team. And when you build a team, you build these relationships, and you're in that foxhole together, you know. And I never saw myself making big money. You know, I've never saw myself, you know, building a big company. I knew it was going to be tough. You know, I think there's so many advantages y'all have today, Ian, with the computer. Sure. You know, the ability to communicate with all these numbers of people. I mean, my goodness, it's just an advantage, just being able to issue a policy. Larry, you remember in a day, you know, I remember the old days where it took 2 and 3 months, and $100,000 was such a big policy back then. You had to get a blood test, you know, go make a doctor's form, get a blood test.
You do all that, then the home office would lose it all.
That's right.
Start the whole crap all over again.
So you had it, but the thing that you can miss if you're not capable, you know, is, see, I believe in recruiting big numbers, but I believe in recruiting big numbers of the right kind of people. And so what we look for were like centers of influence. We didn't want to go recruit people that wanted to be a life insurance agent, you know. And so if you bring people into their first visit with Primerica, let's say, and all they hear is, you know, you throw them in a training class, you know, licensing training class, and you take them over there and you start showing them about the product, and you start showing them about, you know, how to overcome objections. You start showing them all this kind of stuff. Those people are going to run like you can't believe, you know. Now, when you bring them in, like we tried to do at A.O. Williams, and you put them in my locker room, and all of a sudden, I start talking about what a screw-in cash value is. Well, 99.9% of us got screwed. Okay,
Yeah,
I had a daddy
Absolutely.
of one of my football players sell me a $15,000 whole life policy with a wife and 2 children. I could afford $20 all I could. He could have sold me $100,000 to $150,000. You know, my daddy died at age 48 of a heart attack. My mother was sold too little, the wrong kind of insurance. So man, when my cousin showed me buy term and invest the difference, that light went off like you can't believe in my head. Okay, and I wanted to hit somebody. I wanted to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And so I knew when I talked to somebody like Larry Weidel, and that's what got him. That was the magnet.
Yeah.
That was the thing that drew him to A.O. Williams, was to join a group of people that wanted to go out there and correct an injustice. I've always said, Ian, that our great advantage is Prudential sold life insurance to make a living. A.O. Williams sold life insurance to correct an injustice. Well, the right kind of people, Ian, like you want to belong to something that's special. You want to correct an injustice out there. You want to do something good for people out there, okay? And so what we spent our time training our people was on the goodness. You know, you go join the SEAL team as an example, Larry. That's a good documentary to watch, you know. They don't sit in a classroom and start pumping you through with statistics and all that kind of stuff. They go throw you in the darn ocean, holding a log, you know, or drop you in the wilderness out there for a week, you know, with nothing to eat, and you got to fend for
Figure it
yourself,
out.
okay? That's the way coaches think, okay? Man, we were attacking the largest, most powerful industry in the world. The life insurance industry controls 60% of the assets, you know? And so we knew it was going to be tough. We knew it was going to be vicious, and we had to be mentally ready. And so we were always looking, just like a coach at a game film, we were always looking at those jokers to try to find their weaknesses. And we found them. Like I said, you lose your cash values if you die. Lord have mercy. That's just unbelievable that some company could create a product like that. We found out something else about them as we studied them. This was funny, Larry. But the life insurance, big old companies like Prudential and New York Life and them are like the federal government. You know, they're so big and cumbersome, they can't do nothing efficiently, you know. So if we started out with decreasing term with ITT. And it takes about a year and a half to get all their programs fixed up so they can compete with AOE
Right.
and knock us out of the park, they think, you know. And so my theory was about every 18 months we'd come out with a new product. And so over a 12-year period, we started with decreasing term. We went to ART. We went to 10-year level term. We went to 11-year level term. We went to 12-year level term. We went to 15-year level term. We went to 20-year level term. We were always a step ahead of them. And that gave our people a competitive edge. And when you got a competitive edge and you've been screwed and you want to help somebody else unscrew somebody out there, okay? You know, that's where you deal. That's what you don't have to ask somebody. People used to go to Tom Hawkins, they'd come back and they'd have this fancy kind of clothes and they'd get this commitment. You know, now, are you sure if I save you money, are you going to do business with me? I mean, are you willing to sign that, you know, on the paper today? You know, that kind of, you don't talk to a friend that way. You don't, you don't talk to a friend that way. You just talk just like we're talking about, okay? So one of the keys, Ian, I think, for you getting big is you got to go out and recruit huge numbers of people, but you recruit influential people, you know? Like I started out, the way I made that $178,000 in today's dollars, you know, save that part-time, is I would go to coaches, you know, and coach. There's 3 people here, Larry. You know Gary Wyron, the celebrity pro here,
right.
And Cammie that set up this room. And Artie, that's in the pro shop over here, is a coach from New York that works down here part-time. This is a true story. Yesterday, I came out here to check on the room, you know, and so I went out on the driving range to hit a few balls. I'm there hitting some balls, practicing, and Artie comes up, former coach. He's right in the pro shop right now, you know. He watches the videos and everything. And he comes out there and he said, Art, man, those are the greatest videos, blah, blah, blah. Go through all that kind of stuff, you know. And he said, you know, Art, he said, you know, since I've left coaching, he's 65, he's retired, and he said, I've lost my passion. Coaching was my passion.
That's it.
See, I've had two passions. See, I haven't found any
You
passion.
think there
I
might be
hadn't
a
had
few of those at Primerica?
Oh, yeah. I hadn't had any passion, like real passion since I left coaching in A.O. Williams, okay? On the hockey team, on the Canadian Football League team, and all that kind of crap, But I didn't have somebody to hit. I didn't have some injustice to correct out there. Already sitting out there, Larry, on the driving range, 200 yards from here, okay?
Yeah.
And he comes up and tells me, he said, Art, I want to feel like that again. Those videos make me want to hit somebody.
Right.
And let me tell you what he told me, Ian. Unbelievable. He said, you know how many coaches I've produced? He said, I've produced 12 coaches that stay in touch with me right now and say I changed their life, just like Coach Taylor was my only hero in life. Now, can you imagine if he went back to these people and they got cash value life insurance? Do you think they're going to do business with him?
Absolutely.
I mean, they're going to do business with him.
Absolutely.
And you think he's going to have to go to Tom Hopkins and learn how to sell?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to talk to him like one of his babies, okay? That was his baby, okay?
Yeah.
And so that was my theory. Let me just give you an example in Fort Lauderdale. I recruited T. Faircloth, was my first recruit in it was an interesting story. I ain't got time to go.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do a Power 3 video.
Good.
And I'm going to go through
I like
the T.
that.
Faircloth story.
Right.
But anyway,
Good.
it's fascinating.
Good.
But I recruited T. Faircloth, my first recruit in Atlanta when I went up there and didn't know anybody with ITT. And then he led me to Bob Buson, an Auburn teammate. He led me to Bob Miller. He led me to Randall Walker, okay? From those 3 or 4 people, we built over 75 or 100,000 people all over
Wow.
the United States. Well, anyway, so I come down here and recruit Bob Miller. He recruits Greg Fitzpatrick. They're coaching together, okay? Greg Fitzpatrick, daddy is Dave Fitzpatrick. He's head of all the personnel in the Fort Lauderdale school system. Thousands and thousands of people, okay? And then we go recruit the whole world, okay? But they're good people again. These are coaches and, just people that have centers of influence, okay? Let me say one other thing while I'm on it. If you're going to bet your life on something like that, you can't argue with buy term and invest the difference. When we started, 90% of all the life insurance sold out there was trash value. 12 years later, it's 10%, okay? I mean, all people got to see is and that sells itself, right? I mean,
Right.
when I get through making a presentation, I say, well, how does that sound? Now, the sales trainer wouldn't tell you that. They got some kind of slick clothes. But you don't do that to a friend, okay? And I've always said, well, if he said, well, it don't sound too good, okay? Then I talk another hour, okay? Because he don't understand, okay? If I can give him, he's got a $100,000 policy paying $1,200,
Yeah.
and I can give him $500,000 for the same money,
Yeah.
then the guy's either stupid, and I had a few of those,
Yeah.
okay?
I think we all have.
That's right. Yeah. But anyway, you understand my point. But listen, this one thing while we're on it. See, I look in at, like I said, Mike Tuttle has $17 million earnings. I don't know how many you got, Larry. You probably got 40.
About 12.
About 12, okay? But I mean, see, that's. I used to say when you're an RVP, then you're not an RVP. You produce an RVP. When you're $1 million earner, you're not really worried of that till you produce $1 million earner. That's where you tell the studs, okay? And so when I went to ITT, they wasn't like Primerica, but they had 30-something thousand people around the country, okay, all full time. I was part time, okay, and I became the #1 salesperson in ITT because of the system, not because I was so great, okay. I was out there recruiting part-time people. Then we went to Weidel and Reed. There were 13 regions. I had the Southeast region. We were last in terms of total production. In 2 years, we beat all 12 of the others combined. Okay? And then in A.O. Williams, we went from 85 people to 225,000 people. We beat Prudential and New York Life combined. When we went to Canada, the first month in Canada, they outlawed the use of part-timers, the heart and soul of A.O. Williams. I had a letter that I sent to you from Eves David, who's just become my best buddy up there, right now. And, he was offered a job in some company, I think it was Michigan, by the way, to go to Hawaii. He didn't want to go to Hawaii. He had family or friends or something in Canada. He wanted to go to Canada. Well, he had to go full time. He couldn't go part time, So he goes up there, and I think he's maybe French. I'm not sure. But he said that his people learned English up there
Yeah.
by watching the Do-It speech.
Wow.
You know, is that unbelievable? Is that just unbelievable? And then we became #1 in Canada. That was one of the oldest, biggest businesses in Canada. London Light, those buttholes, you know, were started in like 1874. So I asked David and Jim and Arlie Larson, some of those guys up there, I said, you know, are y'all #1? They said, no. And I said, were you ever #1 in Canada? They said, I don't think we were ever #1 in Canada. And I said, wrong. We were #1 in Canada. We won like 3 national championships in Canada, you know, and we were #1. It took us 3 years in Canada to become #1. It took us 7 years in the United States. That's the kind of stuff that I think the Primerica need to know is the foundation and the success.
In spite of no part-time.
No part. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? The enemy tried. They were so nasty and ugly. But see, being a coach, football girl, that didn't bother me because those folks in the wrong colored jerseys down there. If you haven't watched the knockout speech, you ought to watch the knockout speech.
Chalk them up.
Chalk them up, baby.
Chalk 'em up.
Okay. Well, you see, those guys down there, I used to tell my team before right before we went out to kickoff, you know. I said, you see those guys in the wrong colored jerseys? They don't play nice. Okay, they're going to try to knock your butt off.
Yeah.
In the first 4 or 5 plays, you got to let them know who's boss. Okay. Yeah. And so that's the way it is. I mean, the Prudential agent would come back in and say, Art Williams is in jail. We've been outlawed in 98 states, and they had all this kind of crap. Okay, but that didn't change the fact that they stole your cash bags if you died, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but we were prepared for that. Bob Turley's did something that was interesting. He's the greatest salesman. You know, Tug was the greatest relationship builder I've ever known, and Bob Turley was the greatest salesman I've ever known. To have a Cy Young or winner, won to all these worlds, Hickok Bell, all this kind of crap, you know, that he'd stand up at fast start schools and say, I'd rather be an RVP at A.O. Williams than pitching in the seventh game of the World Series with the New York Yankees. Ain't that something to you? I mean, that's the kind of pride that our people
And that's somebody who had done it.
Yeah, and somebody
it
had done
wasn't
it.
somebody just
But
kind of
Turley,
dreaming it
you know,
out.
the insurance regulators, another bunch of scumbuckets usually, politicians, they created this unconstitutional law for a while where we had to, before we could replace a cash value policy, we had to pick up the policies. We had to do an analysis, fill out their little form and all that kind of crap. We had to send that to the competition and tell them what we were doing before we were allowed to go out and replace their policy. Can you believe that? Just almost unbelievable that happened, okay? And so they would come screaming back and say, well, if you wanted term, I could give you something for a nickel cheaper, you know, and all that kind of crap, you know? And Turley came up with something that was so cool. He said, okay, and they said we're outlawed in 98 states and all that. And so Turley came up and said, okay, tape your tape recorder and tell the client, say, now look, old agent, bring your policy. Okay, see, so they would counter with something, and then we would counter something with it. We didn't have time to think about Tom Hopkins and sales technique and all that. We were in a war. We were in the middle of people shooting at us. Okay,
and we were working.
That's right.
We were working.
That's right.
Let me just say a couple of things. First of all, I appreciate you clearing up the mystery that has just tormented English-speaking French Canadians of how so many of them found the term and use it on a daily basis, dadgummit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I'm very excited to hear about the art in the pro shop.
Yeah, Artie
Thing, because we come out here for all these years, 15 years, come out here, and you come in very quiet and very pleasant, you know, and come in and sit and eat your food, and everybody said, you know that Art Williams, he's just so nice. You know, he's just so pleasant. You know, Mr. Williams is just so nice, and you know, he's just so nice. And I said, you have no idea. You have no idea.
All right, Ian.
But now they're starting to get the idea. They can go get on those things, and they can get some because you come out here like, you know, your passion's over. You know, 15,
Right.
you know, they don't see the passion of Art Williams. They
Right.
see Art Williams kind of relax and this, that, and the other. But the fact that now you got a vehicle, now you got these videos, and now they can go in here and they can get on there, and you can be firing people up, still walking in here very quietly, eating your and they're all fired up, wanting to do something great with their life. ArtWilliamsBest.com If you go to that website, you'll see where you can get your chance to simply put your email in there, and you're going to get Art Williams' Unwritten Laws of Success, and you're going to get his personal management philosophy for getting on the email list, and that makes you a unofficial member of Art's unofficial Art's Army. So when he comes up with things, as he surely will, of things that he wants to put out that's not in a video format or whatever he comes up with, like the thing about, you had a chart that you sent out to people on your earlier email list of this Canadian thing. The stuff is going to come out now that we've, opened the door. We're going to have a lot of stuff that came out of the past, great stories and handouts. We had incredible handouts. We ran this company off handouts. We didn't run it off videos and YouTubes and this, that, and the other. And so a lot of that stuff is going to come in. If you want to get into direct pipeline, where you don't have to take a second, third, fourth hand, you can get direct access between you and Art Williams. You can get it as fast as anybody else. You can find out as soon as anybody else there's a new video out there and why he's excited about it. If you want to do that, artwilliamsbest.com.
There's a little link up at the top. You can just touch it.
Touch it, and you go right to it, put in your email, and then you get a chance. Now you got a direct contact with Art, and the rest of your life, boom, you've got that. So wanted to put that little commercial in there.
Thank you, Larry. Ian, I've had two things happen to me where it was almost like lightning striking me. It's when I went to my family reunion at my mother's house 5 years after my dad died, and my accountant cousin, Ted Harrison, who was like a brother to me, showed me the concept of buy term and invest the difference. And then I saw how my dad had ripped off and how bad my mother had suffered because she had too little of the wrong kind of insurance. And then I saw what that daddy, a Gulf Life agent, daddy, one of my Thomasville football players, had sold me a $15,000 policy. And if I died, Angela and the kids would have been in the same fate that my mother was in financially. And how much better I was off, with buy term and invest the difference. And I started going back and learning about, digging for myself, about the evils of cash value life insurance and what the banks were doing. And we could go for another hour on what hedge funds, do and how we can improve people's lives in all those areas too. But then all of a sudden I realized, man, this wasn't like a multi-level marketing thing, This wasn't some little con job. We really could make a difference in people's lives. Like that little $100 licensing fee, man, it opens up a whole new world for you, And so anyway, let me just give you an example of a video I'm working on right now about the power of three. I believe in recruiting large numbers, but I believe in recruiting 90% 4 and 5 pointers. Married, got kids, own a home, got a job, 25 to 60 years old. And you always do exceptions, But people are going to recruit basically the kind of people they are. So if you go recruit a young single guy, which Josh Huffman told me, said, Art, you're wrong about that. Said, I got an office full of young single guys now. They're older and they're doing great. Okay, well, I don't know. There are always exceptions, so that's where you believe it's a 10% deal. Okay, but 90% ought to be 4 and 5 pointers. And so they got friends, and they call and set up the appointment, and they go with you to warm the house up, be the cheerleader, and all that kind of stuff. And so just think about this, Ian, the power of what I call three. I did this little graph, and you can't see it here. But if you go recruit 3 people that are centers of influence again, and they set up appointments, and you go help them. Like y'all's licensing percent is just like, we did 50%, and just the little things make all the difference in the world, And so if you go recruit 3 people, let's say, one way to make them go get a license harder and make more of an effort is go build them a little team. Everybody wants overrides. They getting something off somebody for doing nothing.
Sure.
This is why people need to get into the warm market thing and the centers of influence thing, because they're more likely to be able to build a team if they
Yeah.
know somebody.
Exactly.
You know, if they just
Yeah.
got off the boat from China
That's-
and, you know, someplace and,
Well,
you know,
that's, people are going to recruit, like I said, if you're
no,
single.
no offense to the
if you're-
Chinese people, folks. but,
If you're
you know,
single, you're going
Thanks
to
for clearing
recruit.
that up.
Yeah,
You're going to
yeah,
recruit single
yeah,
people,
right.
okay? If you're unemployed, you're going to recruit
Yeah.
unemployed people.
Yeah.
So you want people 25 to 60. You want people married, got families.
You want
got
people
homes.
that are in the community, they got
Yeah,
jobs,
they
they
got-
got, they, you know, they live, people, you have some credibility. Again,
Okay.
apologize for the Chinese reference. But the thing is, also, Art, you want people who can figure something out. That you have the relationship when things gets a little tough. It gets a little tough when you got to get a license.
Right.
It gets a little tough when you got to start showing up at meetings.
Yeah.
And that's where this relationship and people have got influence and got some ability. You got a chance of helping them be successful. But when you just get people that you just grab off the side of the road somewhere, you got, you know, you're beat before you get started.
Stuff
Yeah, that's why that go get that warm market video.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, anyway, Ian, so look at this. If you go out there and recruit 3 people, you know, get them licensed, you know, then they go recruit 3 people, just 3. You know, that's another thing that a lot of these sales trainers, they want to show you how to get 25 referrals and 50 referrals and 100 referrals, you know. Well, see, that turns off people like me too, you know. I mean, what I built my business off best friends, you know. And so I wanted just your 3 or 4 or 5 best friends, okay? And then if I take them to their 3 or 4 or 5 best friends and take them to their 3 or 4 or 5 best friends. So if you recruit 3, then they go out and recruit 3, and they go out and recruit 3 just 3 times. There's 3. You duplicate that 3 times, okay? Not 100, not 500, okay? That gives you 39 people. This is part-time that I'm talking about, okay?
Yeah.
That's a $3,500 a month income, $42,000 a year. So if you decide to come full-time and do the same thing, you become an RVP and go build 3 that build just 3 that build just 3. Now that's reasonable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's $100,000 a month income, $1.2 million a year. Okay, you don't have to do some of these mega things, you know, like some of our people
Right.
did, you know, like Larry Weidel and Total and these kind of guys. Okay, everybody's got, you know, like I found out with my golf swing. You know, there's no one golf swing for everybody. You have to look at your body types and all this kind of crap, you know. And it's the same thing, you know, what I wanted everybody in A.O. Williams to understand is you're in business for yourself. And one of the biggest shockers of my life is we'd have some people get their income up to $50,000, but which back then was probably $150,000 now, you know, and they would quit. And they'd say, look, I'm happy. You know, now I've got my $50,000 income, and that's all I want. I don't want to work nobody. That just blow me away because, I mean,
Yeah,
you were
right.
always wanting to
Yeah,
be more and more
right.
and more and more and more, okay? But A.O. Williams was built for everybody, okay? So you're going to have some people that just want to build 3, okay? Well, if you go build 3 to build 3 to build 3, all of a sudden you're building, you got $1 million income, okay? And so, you know, back...
How about the second lightning bolt? Did you cover the second lightning bolt? Yeah, the first.
Oh,
lightning
yeah, the
bolt?
first lightning bolt. Yeah, thank you, Larry. The first lightning bolt was my cousin. The second one was when I went over and met Matt, and I sat down with him, and I said, Matt, I'm so frustrated. I felt like I let my A.O. Williams family down. I've never been able to tell them the magnitude of what we did and how we actually did it. I mean, actually show them how we did it, okay? And so me and Matt played around, and his team at Night Glass, which is great. There's not another production company. It's amazing, Larry. I mean, I couldn't go to another production company and educate them on A.O. Williams, okay?
Exactly.
These people started with A.O. Williams TV. They knew A.O. Williams. They had the heart of A.O. Williams. We communicated instantly. He knew what I was talking
Night
about, you know?
Glass. Night
And,
Glass.
yeah, Night Glass. And then so we created a couple of videos, and I said, wow, that's it. I can do it. And I'm going to develop 52 videos, Ian. And I'm going, and my theory is that if I were building a business today, I mean, I think it's important that the people in Canada know that we became number 1. Those that 3 studs up there, they didn't even know we were number 1. Okay,
Yeah.
Let them know
It's your
how
history.
tough we were, and
Yeah.
we did it.
Sure.
We did it when
DNA.
they outlawed part timers up there.
Yeah.
You know, that was a tough lick. You know, it made me
Yeah.
mad. Okay, but instead of quitting and crying and throwing in a towel, we kicked London Life's butt. Okay, in spite of that. Okay. To me, that makes you proud to know that we beat Prudential and New York Life and Metropolitan, 2, 3, and 4 combined. You know, I don't know where y'all are now. Y'all probably number one out there, aren't you?
Oh, no.
Oh, you're not
I think we're
number-
number 3 or 4.
Really? Oh, Lord. Well, anyway, to me, that gives you
Right.
power. That gives
Absolutely.
you power when people want to join a winner, right?
Right.
And so I thought with these 52 videos, one thing that you might do with them is if you get a new recruit in. It's like I used the example when I sent it to you about Notre Dame. If you were coaching Notre Dame and you have a new recruit come on campus, the first thing you do is you take him to the locker room and say, Paul Horning sat right there. Go sit in that chair. Do you feel it?
Yeah.
Do you feel the tradition? Then you walk through the Hall of Fame. And then you look at the trophy case for all those national championships. Then you take them down on the stadium. And you say, can you smell it? And then what coaches do now, I mean, they're so slick. Coaches are so slick. They're always looking for the edge, you know. They'll have the guy's picture on the big scoreboard
Right,
up there,
yeah.
okay? And they'll start playing the Notre Dame fight song, you know, all that kind of crap. Isn't that something, okay? And you say, and that guy's so pumped up he
Yeah.
can't stand it, right? So my thing is, if I was out there trying to build those 3 that built 3 that built 3, I mean, I would take every new recruit and I would have them subscribe to these things
Yeah.
and say, this is who we were. This is who we were,
Yeah.
you know? And you can look at this thing and it just gives you credibility,
Sure.
you know? And then people that are full-time that subscribe to this thing, when you get a tough hit, you know, and you lose a sale, you get a big charge back. I mean, crap's gonna happen, you're right? Then you can go back and you can look at some of this thing and get charged up and say, it is gone. You don't just hang in there, you know? So,
What's so great about this is that most people can only absorb one major point at once, and then your mind starts spinning. And that would happen to me in your meetings. Coming up, it'd be like, you know, I'm listening to Art, and they're like, boom, you know, and like, I may still be taking notes, but my mind is spinning off whatever you said, and I'm thinking I got to change this and that, the other side, you know, because what would happen to me is over and over again, you would say something at a meeting, you know, after I'd been in for years, you'd say something at a meeting, I'd be excitedly writing it down, and then after I got through, I'd look at it and say, I've written that damn thing down 50 times. But finally, you know, it clicked. And so what happens is getting these big intense, clear, bullet point type things, you can make a direct hit and then move on, you know, and they can come back to it and you can reinforce it. Because, you know, these things, the thing about doing these over and over is we got waves of new people coming in all the time. You know, it's like the skin in your body. They say like your body becomes a new body over every so many months or years, whatever. And our organizations become new, you know, with new people coming in and moving out. And to be able to indoctrinate right from direct, not third hand, fourth hand, fifth hand, sixth hand, seventh hand, of people who maybe read the book and their interpretation of Art Williams said back in the day, be able to get it directly from Art himself at, you know, the best it's ever been presented. You know, I think people are looking at these things right now. You've listened to Art Williams. This is not your first rodeo either,
No.
and you've heard the video. The others videos.
Absolutely.
And everything. How are these new ones impacting you? You know, I think it's great for Art to hear, for you as a veteran, hear it, you know, how this comes across to you when you look at it in this new format.
Sure. I mean, I think that I've watched most of them a handful of times now in the last few weeks as we've been preparing for it. And I mean, it's just that 3 or 4 minute shot of power, but the music, you know, I used to be a music minister, and there's something God did with music that makes it a little different than any other mode of communicating. You know, you're mumbling along like Larry was in the car on the way here to his favorite tune. He's messing up all the words, but there's just something that gets, and to have the words and the message and the passion there with the music and the graph. I mean, it gets down deeper into you, I think, than just being able to sit there and watch something in a static
on another
form.
level,
And one of the things I'm going to recommend that everybody that's watching this does, and we're going to start doing this with our people, is opening our meetings with one of those clips. Every meeting, right? Just one of those clips, because if you don't know where you came from, it's pretty hard to get to where you're going.
Absolutely.
Because you're just wandering a path. And I think that the people in Primerica, if I can speak from, we love this. I love this the way I had whole life, like you had whole life. It was like lightning striking. I know there's thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of people out there that carry that heartbeat, that are warriors, right? And I think that they need to be reconnected to that power source, because as you drift away into the minutia of life, we get away from that feeling, right? That's what I've gotten most from sitting here today. Is just the feeling.
Ian, I know we're fixing to wind up, and I always like to wind up giving you some real things to take home to help you, you know, because I know you're little and you want to get big. Okay?
That's true. You're speaking truth.
Okay, so here's what I would recommend, okay? Now, I'm talking to you about things that happened in 1977, 1980, 1982. Now, the fundamentals never change. Blocking and tackling, you know, getting stronger in the weight room, getting faster, you know, none of that stuff ever changes, right? But you got some advantages over us, you know, with the computer and the instant issue and the instant pay and all the money and all the support. And we didn't have nothing, you know, we didn't have nothing, okay? And so
didn't have fax machines, hard.
That's right, yeah. And so be smart enough to understand that you add on to a lot of things I say, okay? Now, some of you sell on the first interview. I know Sam Shepard, one of my great friends, he says, you know, I'm in a minority market, they don't have insurance. I mean, I think it's stupid, you know, but Sam don't think it's stupid, and he does pretty good.
You got to go by what works. You got to go, if you're winning, you got to, people are not winning now. So you know,
I might, to summarize things, okay, for little people like you, Ian, is that, you know, you got to be smart enough to you know, you want to understand that this was 1977, you know, like a horse and buggy era. Okay, y'all are in the jet airplane era up here. You got some advantages, but y'all forgot where you came from, and you screwing this thing up. Okay, and so take from some of the videos and take from some of the conversations like we have. You know, we can do this again if you ever want to, and I appreciate you doing it, buddy.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Having you and Jessica here is great. But here would be my final thought. Be smart enough to understand your advantages and use your advantages in addition to what we did, you know, back in the old days, okay? The other thing is to simplify. You know, when you start getting these huge numbers and you start growing by multiplication, you know, I'll never forget, Larry, when I thought I was an offensive genius, you know, and so my first football coaching job, I had a playbook, you know, about this thick, you know. I talk about Prudential's rate book being this thick and ours one page, okay? See, that was a powerful advantage we had. We simplified this thing to what works, okay? Because you got a limited time with these part-timers as an example, you know? And so I think you've got to simplify your stuff down. I had a playbook that the first game, you know, we'd practice, you know, like the day before when we did our walkthrough and all this kind of stuff, you know, it'd take about an hour to go through all of our pass plays and our running plays and all that kind of crap, you know. I had a manager that would follow me. I called every play when I was a head coach, you know, and he wrote down the yardage, like 1st and 10, and the play that I called, okay? And after the game, I took that home and I looked at it, and we only ran 4 or 5 plays, you know. And I said, man, here I'm out there working on 75 plays, and we don't have them running. That's stupid, you know. And so what I did is I figured out I was going to take those 4 or 5 plays, and I got in different formations. You know, I'd have split an in out here, or I'd get an unbalanced line, but we'd run the same 4 or 5 plays, you know. And so the thing that I would do is I would go back as an example. What are the most important things that happened to me, life-changing things happened to me in my life when I was at ITT? I went to hear Napoleon Hill speak in Atlanta. And he said, I've spent my entire adult life studying successful people. I've done that, okay? I've studied people like you and try to find that common denominator that we all have, you know? He spent his entire adult life studying successful people. And regardless of the profession you're in, he came up with 6 steps. I took those 6 steps, you know, because I want to be financially independent, you know, where nobody put their thumb on me and squeeze me and all that, you know. And I figured out that if I just took that $42,000, he had 6 steps you go through. If I took that $42,000 and I didn't change my living standard, you know, kept expenses just the same, put that in my mutual fund, and I saved $1,000 a month, which I was doing for 10 years, I would have a pocket of money, $300,000, and if I was making 10% off my mutual fund, you know, that's $30,000 a year. I could live off that and never hit a lick of a snake, you know. Ian, for years, I would take my base shot and I would make everybody go through this thing. And I did this with a couple of Primerica people a couple of years ago. And it just, all of a sudden, you say, wow, I'm in here killing myself and I don't think I'm getting ahead, you know. But if you just kill it, it ain't going to be easy. I don't promise you it's going to be easy. I just promise you it's going to be worth it, okay? Fill this baby out and you follow your game plan, okay? You're going to be financially independent.
Yeah.
Get you some things, like this was our first presentation that we sent out. This is what Mike Tuttle and all of us used, a split funding presentation. All you needed was a sheet of paper, okay? Now, you probably got a nice presentation thing at Primerica. I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
So
we used one page. Yeah,
Okay,
we
one
used
page. Okay, see, that's good. So we came
They
out
give you
with this.
12.
We
We
came
used
out
one.
with this common sense book that I want to give you. This last copy I've got down here in Palm Beach, Ian. We sold 16 million of these.
Wow.
That murdered the competition. Okay, that saved you hundreds of hours with an individual to understand what A.L.
Right.
Williams is all about. Get you a few things. Simplify this thing down to the important things where it can be transferred. You can have an RVP in Atlanta. You can have RVP in Los Angeles, you know, and you speak a common language. Does that make sense? And if you're
Yes.
going to grow by multiplication, you've got to do that.
Yeah.
You can't send them and they hear all these complicated messages from all these
Absolutely.
different people, you know. So anyway, that's my last thought.
All right.
So-
Ian, thanks for having us on. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for obviously being here, and again, the people watching and the hundreds of thousands of people that are going to watch this, thank you for what you've done. You know, Bill Arender in his Art Williams locker room notes wrote something, and Bill's just one of my favorite to read. And he said, it's seldom that a man's shadow grows greater with the passage of time, but Art Williams is one of those men. And so I just want you to know from everybody out here in little old Primerica that
It's pitiful.
but we want to win, and we want to listen and take your coaching and take your advice, and we just want you to know that 50 years, 100 years, 200 years from now, there's still going to be people who believe that buy term and invest the difference 100% of the time is the right thing, that trash value is garbage always, and that average and ordinary people deserve a shot to win in their life. And that was Jessica and I know that was Larry. And hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people's lives you changed because you believed that you didn't have to have the right last name or the right background. My dad came here from the Czech Republic, didn't speak English, worked midnights to give us a shot to be average and middle class, and somebody with a dream who made a way, who was tough enough to fight. And we just thank you.
I
From
love
the
you.
bottom of our hearts. I love
Thank
you
you.
too.
Thank
And
you.
next step, everybody, next step, artwilliamsbest.com. The next
Click the
step for
link.
you want to do
Get on
something
it.
big, let's move. See you.
God bless you.
Thanks, Larry.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.